Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Paul. I got my Rickenbacker in the back seat, I got my new camera in my hand, and we are on our way to Castle Hill in Ipswich, Massachusetts to see Studio 2 for one of their largest shows of the season. And tonight, they're featuring a new piece of gear I'm super excited to check out. So come along for the ride. Studio 2 is run by brothers Rob and Stephen Murray. Rob is George and Stephen as John. These guys don't just play Beatles songs. They recreate the early Beatles sound with an authenticity that's hard to match. So I came to Castle Hill mainly for the gear, to see Studio 2's new Vox AC100 amps, and to talk with Rob all about them. These amplifiers were a huge part of the Beatles sound and look in 1964 and 1965, and I had to check them out to see how Studio 2 brought them to the stage. But what I ended up walking away with was something totally unexpected, and I'll get to that part at the end. But first, I was able to catch up with Rob just after he was done unloading and setting up to talk a little bit about his amplifiers. One of the first things I asked Rob was why they decided to add the AC100s to their lineup.
Well, it's been probably, probably 5 or 6 years I've been wanting to have the AC100s. Just decided that last year we were going to do it and kind of like modify some Super Beatle cabs, and found that the Super Beatle cabinet grill cloth we couldn't take it off because the front baffle was glued on. So this year our cabinet builder said, do you want to do that project? And I said, yeah, let's do that project. I think it's time.
And how close are they to the originals? Let's start with the cab.
Inside the cabinet, like I said earlier, there's 4 speaker cutouts and 2 mid-X horns. There are no mid-X horns in this cabinet. Those are realistically not something that anyone wants to hear these days. I do have working ones, but they didn't go in there. What is in there, in the top right of each cabinet is a single 12-inch Celestion Neo Dog that Vox put out maybe 20 years ago. Celestion put out for Vox with Vox's name on it, which I read some reviews that they sound very similar to a Celestion Silver T1088. I had a T1088 and this Neo Dog, and when analyzed together, they sound exactly the same, both in person and on a graph.
And while the heads look like exact replicas of the thin-edge AC100, they're actually empty shells. The real sound is coming from behind them.
So the heads for tonight on top of these cabinets are replicas of the thin-edge box AC100, similar to a North Coast music cabinet because I had one for the cab builder to copy. But they're empty. What we're running tonight, and probably a rarity, is that each guitar are running 1964 AC50 Mark I's, diamond input. There are no serial numbers that I could find on either amp, but the pots have a date code for one of them from February 64 and the other one is April 64. So I would say they were probably made in the late spring or early summer before they switched to the bit larger box / 2-channel AC50s.
And it wasn't just the guitars getting the authentic treatment. The T100 bass amp on stage was set up the same way as the AC100s. A bottom cab with speakers and an empty head shell. But behind it, the bass was actually powered by a real vintage Vox T60 head, the same model Paul McCartney used early on. But designing the look was one thing. Tracking down the right parts was another challenge entirely.
The stands were the hardest part. We stumbled across them in a Craigslist ad in 2017, and we were like, oh my god, that's the North Coast music stands, and it was a really good deal. We are a stale of it, like it was amazing. We had to just buy them. So that was ended up being the first piece of the puzzle. And then corners were hard to come across. I got the 1-pin corners, not the 2-pin. 1-pins were in the AC100s. I thankfully ordered the right grill cloth and the nameplate from North Coast Music before they went out of business.
And while they look every bit as massive as the originals, they're actually lighter and easier to move, which is crucial for any touring band.
They are lighter and easier to move around. What makes these very different of a normal AC100 is the cabinet, top, sides, bottom, are 3/8 wood, and the front baffle is also 3/8 with a 3/4 inch border around the front and the back to give it the illusion that it is a 3/4 inch cabinet, which lops off a bunch of weight from the cabinet. Two people can easily carry this and not complain about it, and that's how I wanted it. I wanted to make it as easy to move as possible. This comes off, and the head comes out.
Are we using this portion of the skirt, Steven? Nope. Okay.
This.
And finally, I asked Rob what he hopes the audience walks away with after a show like this.
I hope they just enjoy the show and they maybe walk away thinking to themselves, I finally got to hear the Beatles in concert and see them.
And honestly, that's exactly how I felt. Not like a tribute act, but instead almost like stepping into a time machine. Studio 2 absolutely nailed it. The energy from the crowd, with nearly 2,800 people, was unreal. From where I was standing, it truly felt like stepping back into 1964. And back at the very beginning, I mentioned that I brought my own Rickenbacker. It's a model Lennon briefly played when his main black 325 was out of commission. To add to the uniqueness of the show, it was great to see Steven playing it on stage. And that is the real magic. The gear, the music, the setting, the energy all colliding into one incredible night. So yes, I came here for the amplifiers. I came here for the gear. But I left with something much bigger. A reminder of why this music still matters. All these years later, the Beatles' music is still so incredibly powerful. In itself, it's its own magic. Young or old, across races and backgrounds, everyone comes together for the enjoyment of the best music on earth, the Beatles.
I wanna hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand.
If you ever get a chance to see Studio 2 live, do it. Whether you're into the Beatles, the gear, or simply great live music, you'll walk away with the same type of feeling I did. Pure joy.